Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Yesterday, or very early this morning, depending on where you were, we were told that another two police officers were shot and killed, and the suspects were at large. This morning, we got the details that three people had been arrested and then four. But what I want to talk about is two things I'm noticing. One, the shootings of these police officers seem to routinely be reported on the weekend, which is traditionally a slow news cycle time. We had the shooting of the officers in New York last year, again last weekend, and then this weekend. And in between that, we've gotten smaller stories, but those three have gotten the most attention. And all of them have been very coded with numbers. In this case, one of the first headlines I saw was that two officers killed, and the gematria of that is 84, simple English, like United States of America. You know, this is a story for the nation. Or 93 with the S exception, the number of Thelema, the number of do what thou wilt, which has to do with sacrifice. And there's a 6-minute and 7-second video that CNN has up, and the father of this man, named LaCorey, referred to his son's death as a sacrifice. We'll listen to that. But I've also been going through the Hattiesburg Wikipedia, seeing what the history of this city is. I want to show you what's all interesting about this city. First, notice that it's 49 square miles. 49 is the number of revelation in the Michael Brown shooting. So much about it was 49. The name Michael comes from Revelation, the final book of the Bible. Anyway, this city's 49 square miles. It's got a population in the 47,000s. Notice it's called the Hub City as its nickname. Got back in the day with the railroad and logging and all that. The Hub City has a Pythagorean gematria of 49, like the square miles. Hattiesburg also has a Pythagorean gematria of 49, and Mississippi has a gematria of 94 with the S exception, or 58 simple English. It should be noted that Hattiesburg also sums to 58 with the S exception. So Hattiesburg and Mississippi have connections to 58 and 94, both numbers with 4 numerology. They both reduce to 4. 5 plus 8 is 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. 9 plus 4 is 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. So a lot of 49 on this city. It also has coordinates of 31 degrees north, 89 degrees west. Again, with regards to Michael Brown, that shooting happened on August 9th. 8/9, the word religion equals 89. And with regards to the coordinate 31 degrees, 31 is the foundational degree of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. The city was founded in 82, incorporated in 84. The last time there was a shooting in Hattiesburg, the last time a shooting at all was the year 1984. USA Today reported that. Last shooting in Hattiesburg before yesterday or early this morning, 1984. So supposedly these are the officers. Interesting photos. One of a guy looking down in a black collared shirt. You know, they keep giving us these images of police officers in all black. It doesn't look like the typical police uniform. The name LaCorey Tate sums to 57, a number that's been important this past week. Talked a lot about that. In simple English, excuse me, let's do both of them. Benjamin J. Dean sums to 51, like conspiracy, one of the police officers killed, and LaCorey Tate, 57. There's been a lot more emphasis on LaCorey Tate, the family interviews and the media coverage this for. In simple English gematria, the name Benjamin Dean's 96, Benjamin Day Dean's 106, LaCorey Tate's 147. And just look at the video links that CNN's been putting out. See anything curious here? 113, 114, 223. The mayor of this town is named Johnny Dupree. Doesn't that just sound like a sketchy name on the surface? Johnny Dupree has a Pythagorean gematria of 33 in the last name. So often you find that. These gang of 33 telling the lies of these shooting hoaxes. Suspects last night were brothers. Today they added a few more to the list. But with regards to this town, Hattiesburg, beyond the numbers, there's something also very interesting. Just in its history, it's had other race-related things, such as Hattiesburg is home to the African American Military History Museum. Opened in what year, Truth Seeker? 42? What have we learned about 42 and black men? This number and 59 have been coded all over black men throughout our history. Here is the African American Military Museum in this city, opened in 42. What else? Also from this city, check out this. Hattiesburg and the unincorporated African American community of Palmer's Crossing played a key role in the civil rights struggle of the 60s. In 1959, here's that year again, Black Korean War veteran Clyde Kennard, CK311, C's the third, K's the 11th, applied to attend then all-white Mississippi Southern College, today University of Southern Mississippi. He was denied admission on account of his race, and when he persisted, the Mississippi State Sovereignty Commission conspired to have him framed for a crime. So we've heard these stories from the past, from our nation's history, the discrimination, the brave black youth who were willing to confront the white schools and say they wanted to participate. But possibly all throughout history, these stories have been coded by the numbers with agents. I suspect that Clyde Kennard's CK311 wasn't just any black kid. You know? All this is part of an ongoing agenda. It's always been coded by the numbers. It happened in the year 59. I mean, it's just so bad, Truth Seeker. Once you're aware of it, it's just so undeniable. Anyhow, on the night of January 10th, I should just stop right here. If anybody's watching this and has never seen one of my posts before and wondering what I'm talking about with 42 and 59, please go through my video posts. I've done a lot of educating on these numbers to get to the brunt of it. This is the word Truth Seeker. In Pythagorean gematria, it looks like this, and it sums to 42. It has the double 59 coding. Words such as Negro, slave sum to 59. Motown Records came out in 59. Blues equals 59. And a million more things. The name Rodney King equals 59. His birthday's April 2nd, 42. He was beat on March 3rd by the LAPD, all sorts of 33 coding. All through our history, Truth Seeker, racial stories by the numbers. Who do you think is to blame? On the night of January 10th, 1966, the White Knights of the KKK, the 11, the 11, the 11, the 33, attacked the Hattiesburg home of NAACP Negroes leader Vernon Dahmer with firebomb and gunfire. You know, it's just sad, isn't it, to see through this and see how it's all been done? Oh, Truth Seeker. They've even had nuclear testing in this town of Hattiesburg, so... Look, the first test was October 22nd. October is the only month with 33 gematria. They did it on a 96 date, like Freemason. So Hattiesburg, it might be a small town, but it's not your everyday run-of-the-mill small town. It's a town with some history, and it could be one of these PSYOP towns. Maybe this is the Sandy Hook of Mississippi. The first headline I saw about this yesterday just said, officers shot, gematria of 62 like Mason. Today we got the names of the four charged: Joni Calloway, Marvin Banks, Curtis Banks, and my favorite, Cornelius Clark, CC33. Let's listen to the dad, supposedly, of the officer LaCorey Tate who was killed. Here we go.
This is the first time in 30 years that any officer has been killed in the line of duty.
Since 1984, Truth Seeker.
On the phone with me right now, Officer LaCorey Tate's father, Ronald Tate. Thank you for being with me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I am deeply, deeply sorry for your loss. What can you tell us about your son?
Well, first thing I'd like to...
Truth Seeker, I just want to point out about when news anchors are deeply, deeply sorry for deaths. It always makes me throw up a little bit, because these are the same people who will read through headlines like the Micro Machine Man of the 80s. If you don't know who he was, he talked a mile a minute. They'll talk through headlines about deaths of people overseas like it doesn't even matter. They don't blink an eye. They throw it in with the story that means nothing, you know. But then this one, he is just deeply, deeply sorry for the loss. Why? Because he's a police officer.
Say about my son was, I just expect that, would hope that the world would just understand that this was not a police officer first for me. This was my son. This was my baby. You know, Officer Tate and Police Officer Tate.
This is the picture they have of the father and his son. Doesn't this look like something an amateur would make in Photoshop? I mean, come on.
Patrolman Tate. That all came secondary. This was my baby.
I know.
This is my baby. And that's all I see, my baby. This is my baby who went a fly, man. He was just wonderful. And he was doing what he wanted to do. And he was happy. I talked to him every week.
True Seeker, I want to point out that the name Ronald has a simple English gematria of 64, Tate 46. 64 and 46 have been coded into every story about officers being killed. That first one in New York, everything about that story was 46. The date, the officer names, and all the details that came out afterwards. The word hero equals 46. Thelema has to do with 64. Remember we saw the headlines earlier that connected to 93, the number of Thelema, the number of do what thou wilt, even lie about police officers and everybody else dying. All right, here we go.
He texts me every day. What's up, Dad? To let me know he was doing all right. But I just want people to understand that take the blue suit off of my baby, because this was my baby, who I was willing to allow to go into this type of work, dangerous, a guy who understood and loved everybody, peaceful, passive, understanding, wouldn't hurt anybody.
What is it about him? What is it about him, Ronald, that wanted to serve so much? I mean, he was so young. He had just graduated from the police academy 11 months ago. What is it about him that wanted to give back to his community?
Well, ever since he was small, he loved police cars and the lights and the flashing lights. And you know, in the 90s, they stopped with the push cars and the cars that would go by themselves, and they put motors in them. And so I got in those type cars that he could ride, and he was fascinated. But now he went to Southwest Mississippi Community College, and he graduated after 2 years with a certificate in automotive. So he was manager at O'Reilly's Auto Parts as a young man. 19.
O'Reilly's. That was the first building to burn in Ferguson. O'Reilly's equals 96, like Freemason, like the date of that nuclear test in this town.
And he went to AutoZone as a manager. So, and then he says, Dad, you know what? I want to be a police officer. And he had this enthusiasm and this fire in his soul. And I knew he meant that. After paying all this money for automotive, I said, this guy wants to be a police.
Yeah. I know you also have a daughter. His
Was anyone just listening to that story? It was all about how he wanted to be an automotive and then he became police. Okay.
sister, and you've said that she is absolutely devastated, and that he was really a protector to her, that he looked out for his sister.
Yesterday evening, before this all happened, she and I was on the phone, and this is exactly what's her exact words. Dad, he's my protector. He is my protector. We talked about him for about an hour because she was on her way to him.
Come on. Come on, did you guys just hear that? The woman asked this man, guiding him. When you watch the CNN anchors, it's obvious how often they guide their guests. It's not just guided questions. You can tell sometimes these people are on there nervous, talking nonsense. They're paid actors. And the anchors like Wolf Blitzer will ask them a question to get them back on the path. And look at this guy. He's just regurgitating the same words. Yeah, earlier today I was talking to my daughter, and that's how she referred to him, as the protector.
Mom's house for Labor Day. For Mom's Mother's Day. And he wasn't able to go because he had to work. And we just talked about him. And they 11 months apart, so it was almost growing up as twins. They were always able to play with themselves without other people. They were so close that they just grew up like that, and they was always like that. And so this devastated her. And I talked to her today, and I thought she was a little better because she was there. She got to the hospital and found out, and he was still in the room, and she touched his face, and she said, you know, Dad, I touched his face, and it was cold. She said, but I'm like you. I'm still waiting on a phone call and saying this is just all a mistake.
Yeah.
That our wonderful family member hadn't been sacrificed like this. But
Sir, what would you
Sacrificed. A curious word.
do? What do you want people to remember about your son and to do in his memory, to do in his honor?
well, you know, this whole thing about, you know, there's this notion that all police are out to get people or they are bad. My son didn't see color. Definitely, he had so many friends from the time he was in kindergarten. I was military for over 10 years of his life. He grew up in Germany for 5 years. And we just didn't have color barriers. We didn't have all this animosity between races. And my son didn't see that. He didn't have time for that. He was just mellow and laid back and didn't want to get into that. And so he was a guy who was willing to put the risk out there, put his life out there to risk, and he really knew the risk. But he thought, I think my son just thought, you know, people are generally good. And that's just the way he was. He thought people are generally good people. So let's treat them all with dignity. And he's just a laid back, quiet guy who I'm trying to come to grips with.
I think you said it well. Let's treat them all with dignity. Ronald Tate, I am so extraordinarily sorry for your loss, sir. May you find comfort in the memories that you had with him. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your son with us today.
Well, thank you for letting me do that. I appreciate it.
6 minutes and 7 seconds, Truth Seeker. That number's 67. So that's pretty much the extent of it. This town has some history, some racial history, and it's got some numbers, especially the number 49, the number of revelation, the number of the end times. I don't think we're living in the end times, Truth Seeker, but maybe we're living in the end times of the United States. At some point it's going to follow in the path of the USSR, United States of Soviet Russia, no longer. Someday we'll say United States of America, no longer. All right, Truth Seeker, signing off.